Greetings, everyone. This is Eric Brown, MOBO-Media, MOBO-Media. Hey, like I said, I'll be dropping a lot of content and really trying to, get MOBO-Media, the YouTube channel, off to a great start. So with that, I thought I'd take some time to really dig a little deeper into me, and again, if I want folks to subscribe to the channel and rock with me, and I think they need to know as much about me, enough to be able to, determine whether you want to rock with me or not. So I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans on a lot of things about me. So first and foremost, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, back in 1968, same year Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. So born in Fort Worth, Texas. I was born in poverty, not ashamed of that. Born at a location called the Fort Worth Projects, Butler Housing Projects in Fort Worth, Texas. So from there, we kind of moved around, and my real father really wasn't in my life during that time, kind of in and out, you know what I'm saying? So at some point through my early childhood years, another gentleman stepped into my life, and that gentleman remains in my life today, and I consider him my father, you know what I'm saying? So after, being born in poverty in the projects, we moved around quite a bit, and again, we struggled quite a bit, you know what I'm saying? We lived in places called like Poly and Southside, different places around Fort Worth. At some point, we made our way to Stop 6, Texas. Stop 6, Texas. Stop 6, Texas, to me, was life altering. It was life changing because of the fact that it was the first time that I had saw, a community of black people who really had some semblance of being about taking care of themselves, taking care of each other. So Stop 6 was a very strong, well-known community back then. And I think Stop 6 was the sixth stop on a train station back in Fort Worth years ago, from what I understand, for some of the history buffs of Fort Worth. But Stop 6 still has a deep, rich history. Coach Robert Hughes from Fort Worth, he's a all-time high school leader in wins, Coach Hughes, Robert Hughes. We also have other folks with a lot of great accolades from the area. Donald Curry, former welterweight boxing champion. I actually live next door to Donald Curry. Coming up, man, you see him go out, training, and his trainer coming to pick him up, and him getting ready for title fights. And we actually lived next to him in 1980. I think it was 86. It was about 1986 or 85 where he actually won the welterweight title. And I can still remember the energy around the apartments. We lived in apartments next to Dunbar High School in what's called Fort Worth, in Stop 6, Texas. And so I can still remember all the hype around him winning that welterweight championship. But Stop 6 was a unique place for me, is why I began to, bond with a lot of real good friends and have some really strong relationships. Man, I learned the good, the bad, the ugly. Stop 6 had it all, man, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the thing that I can say the most about Stop 6 is that the adults of Stop 6 back then, particularly within the schools in Stop 6, Dunbar, Dunbar Middle School, Dunbar 6th grade center, man, the teachers made sure that you got some sort of education. They gave you everything they had. A lot of these teachers actually left the communities and came back to actually teach the children within the communities. So kudos to them for that. So after Stop 6, I went to Dunbar High School. Dunbar High School, that was my high school years, Dunbar High School. For like half a semester, I went to what's known as O.D. Wyatt High School, Fort Worth. I think I went there half a semester, like in the 11th grade or something like that. But I had to get the hell out of there because I was headed down the wrong road, man. That's where, the introduction of all things that I was not really used to at that age, such as drugs and alcohol and running wild and running fast. And so that was a little different for me. Back then, O.D. Wyatt was a fashion show, pretty much. A lot of kids from a lot of well-to-do parents with good jobs. Nothing against them. It's just that oftentimes when you put those material things in front of people, man, it causes people to lose focus. And that's one of the things I could say that I saw was the difference between Dunbar and Wyatt back then. The Dunbar of schools and the educators and everything like that, man, they had focus. It was focus. Even Dunbar football, Dunbar basketball, it was focus. Don't get me wrong, O.D. Wyatt, some of the other schools were doing their thing. But if I had to compare Dunbar and O.D. Wyatt, Dunbar was focused and O.D. Wyatt was pretty much, back then it was all about a name. It's about a name, and like I said, it's like a fashion show. And I'm not even knocking O.D. Wyatt alumni or nothing like that, man. Back then it was just y'all had the money, man. Folks at Stop 6 was poor, you know what I'm saying? But we were still happy. Y'all had money, but that money caused y'all to get in a lot of trouble. Caused a lot of folks to get addicted to drugs. A lot of folks to get, serious jail and prison times. And I'm not just making this up. I know this for a fact, man. I know this for a fact. And not saying the Dunbar folks were angels, but ODY was on a whole nother level. So after leaving Dunbar High School, I had a fork in the road. So my dad had served in the Air Force for 4 years. And so he felt that would be a great opportunity for me, at least an option, because school wasn't really pushed, or it wasn't really a thing that I was looking forward to going to school or anything like that. So I kind of chose the Air Force. But before going to the Air Force, I had to get cleaned up because, I had been involved with some things I shouldn't have been involved with, you know what I'm saying? So I had to get real cleaned up, man, before going to the Air Force. And it was a challenge. It was a serious challenge, but I got through it, you know what I'm saying? I'll dig a little deeper into that and what that was all about later. But for now, in the interest of time, after Dunbar High School, I joined the Air Force. The Air Force first assignment, Philippines. Stayed in the Philippines for 2.5 years. I left the Philippines because of a volcanic eruption called Mount Pinatubo in 1991. I actually was right in the middle of the volcano, like there, when it all blew. And so that left a tremendous impact on me. And, it left me with something I always have the rest of my life. And one of the memories of that tragic event, Mount Pinatubo, 1991. After leaving the Philippines, came back to Texas, Abilene, Texas, for a couple of years. That was heavy for me. That was when the heaviest toll was taken on me from a military perspective, because that's when they were really sending me all these different locations. They had me in some real special unit with only 28 members total, from the commander all the way down to me, the youngest member of the squadron, 28-man squadron, called a TALSI unit, or ALSI for some of the Air Force folks out there. And they had me going so much for at least 3-4 years, just back to forth, Africa, Somalia, Bosnia, man, you name it, I was all over the place, man. All over the place. Egypt, you know what I'm saying? I say Africa, but I was on the African continent, but in a lot of different countries in Africa, probably 8 different countries. Europe, just all over the place, man. It was constantly flying. And because of the uniqueness of my job, we had what's called, they had me on flying orders all the time. That meant that wherever the pilots of that plane went that we were on, that I would go with those pilots. So if the pilots went to a hotel, I'm going to the hotel with those pilots, you know what I'm saying? And so those are special orders to make sure that, I got to where I need to be. We got to where we need to be. After Abilene, ended up going to Japan, Okinawa, Japan, stayed there about 5 years. That was great. Met a lot of great folks there. My man Terrell, I know you're probably watching this. Hey, if it weren't for Okinawa, man, you wouldn't be where we are today, man. And salutes out to you, you know what I'm saying? Okinawa, Japan had, like I said, made a lot of great friends. My man Monstar, Briley, Delo, my man Frenchie, who passed away in 2020, sudden heart attack, you know what I'm saying? My man Wood, man, Priestley, a lot of cool cats out of Okinawa. In fact, we were so cool and so tight there that we actually, because we all hung together anyway, we actually came up with our own little name for our little clique. We had like a little clique. Hell, back then it probably was illegal, probably was like a gang, but we called it the Don Boys, DB Don's Boys. And we named it after an older guy that we used to really hang around over in Okinawa, who would show us the ropes and we could go to him for advice and things like that. He was an older ranking guy, and he would just, he would hang with us on the weekends, things like that. But we all ended up getting the Don's Boy tattoos and the whole nine, man. Don's Boys. The tattoos and the signs, DB, but we really looked out for each other. Had hats, t-shirts, the whole nine, man. Like I said, it was a crew of I think about 7 or 8 of us, man. But we was real tight-knit about letting any outsiders in, because it was, we were just that loyal to each other. And I'm sure we caught the eye of probably Air Force investigators who would see us going around with these shirts and these hats. And then we kind of, we had our weight up. We was all in the gym hitting it. So if we're in a club or something, we're at a table, you can't miss us, because we a table full of big dudes with same hats, same shirts, and they throwing up these same signs, man. Not gang signs, but signs of loyalty to each other, man. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, Don's Boy still stays strong, always, you know what I'm saying? After leaving Okinawa, ended up going to, came back stateside, headed to Utah. Utah was not a bad place. Utah was actually one of the best assignments I've ever had. A lot of people have a lot of misconception or misperceptions about Utah. But they do have their own history, you know, which some I don't agree with, but it was a great place, man. The first thing that I picked up on was the smell of the air there. Very clean, and then everything was clean, and because when I first got there, it was snowing. So you saw the Wasatch Mountains, the backdrops of the snow and everything, and it was just a great experience, man. Utah was also a place with a lot of pain. I don't know why, man, but there were a lot of Air Force members that were lost to things like homicides and accidental deaths and suicides, things like that, man. I don't know what it was with Utah, man. It was just notorious for that, man, big time. And a lot of that impacted me personally. I got a tattoo on my arm of a little homeboy I had over there, man, that passed away suddenly one day, man. Got caught up in the mix of all the other, I guess, that bad spirit that lingered over that place, you know what I'm saying? So after Utah was a place where I actually retrained from. Initially in the Air Force, I was working what's called flight line. Flight line was what's called tip of the spear. That is the tip of the spear when it comes to combat. The flight line, the planes out there, the bombs, the nukes have to get off the ground on the flight line. So I was out there working on the flight line as a maintainer, and the things I maintained was the equipment used to get the plane off the ground, used to check the planes, used to test the planes, all types of stuff, man. The equipment used in emergency for the plane. So I was an age mechanic called aerospace ground equipment, and I loved it because age was everything. And for you age mechanics out there, man, hey, I salute y'all. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's the best career field in the Air Force, man. As far as flight line, I don't know about the administrative stuff like that, you know. I don't know about the admin, but as far as maintenance and turning the wrench, it was age. Age was everything. If somebody out the flight line, if any other organization had a problem that they couldn't fix, they come to age, man. Either age would go there to fix the problem, or they'll bring the situation to age, man. We'd always find a way to do it. Age is just a career field with a bunch of, I think the Air Force did a damn good job when they created that career field, because the folks in that career field know what I'm talking about when I'm saying this. It is, man, everybody in that career field is a critical thinker. It literally, now that I think of it many years later after the Air Force, I retired, 15 years ago, but it just now hit me that, man, we were all critical thinkers. They did a damn good job with their testing, what they call ASVAB testing, testing it to see where you rank at and how smart you are in the Air Force and where, you know, what job you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? These little, they call battery tests, man, and they do a damn good job of you know, picking out dodo birds and picking out folks who really use the old thinker, man. But age was a career field full of thinkers. We did everything from hydraulics to hydraulics to electrical to gasoline to pneumatic to structural repair to corrosion control, you know, man, everything, man. Liquid oxygen. I mean, we did it all, man. Towing equipment, you know what I'm saying? Lift equipment. I mean, we did everything out there. We have equipment even in the age career field that actually mimic the airplane. We have a piece of equipment that actually does some of the same things an airplane does, and that's the Dash 60 out there, or Dash 95. I don't know what else they use out there. You know, it's been many years. I'm sure the equipment has evolved through technology, but this thing would fire up just like an airplane jet engine, man. And you would hook it up to the jet to get the jet going, spinning it going. But that was a great time, great career field. But in Utah is when I actually decided to retrain. I ended up going from combat, aerospace, ground equipment, flight line, hardcore, tip of the spear to mental health. And the reason I did that was because I was already studying mental health. Early on, you know, I just started studying mental health back in Okinawa, I believe. Started taking classes. And I think the main reason for it was just, I was very confused on what I wanted to do. I knew school was the right thing to do. And I did talk to a school counselor there. And she gave me some great advice. Basically, what she told me is that, you know, whatever I do, make sure it's something that I like to do. Something that, in a sense, I have an innate skill set for. When I say innate, there's something I'm born with, you know what I'm saying? And for me, that's a love of people. So that's why I chose the field of psychology with the minor in management studies. And so I got a bachelor's in psychology. I got a couple of certifications in psychology. I've got Air Force associate degree psychology. You know, I've worked in the field of psychology for the Air Force. So in Utah is when I retrain. Retrain meaning I get the approval to go from one job in the Air Force to another. And it is not easy. It is not easy. First of all, it has to benefit the Air Force. Second, you got to meet the requirements. I did it just at the right time because they had like 2 slots available in the whole Air Force. And it just so happened I was finishing up my bachelor's degree in psychology. but I was also doing stuff on the side to kind of help boost up my resume and things like that. So when the time came, man, someone told me about it, came over and said, hey, man, I know you studying psychology. They got these positions open. Man, I hurry up and went over there, man. And the first thing they did was have me go to the local mental health clinic. Once I told them I was interested in retraining into mental health, because you have to go to school and training and all that stuff. But before you do that, they actually have you go to the mental health clinic and have the mental health folks talk to you to see if you're a good fit for the clinic. And so you have to get a recommendation from the actual mental health clinic, because obviously they don't want the blind leading the blind, you know what I'm saying? So after I retrained, I had to go to Texas to retrain. After retraining, went from mental health, I actually ended up going to Yokota Air Base. No, before Yokota, I went back to Texas, back to Abilene, Texas. Abilene, Texas was different this time because now I wasn't maintenance or combat or flight line. Now I was mental health. So I was looking at things from a whole different perspective. I mean, I rarely even touched the flight line there at this time. Mainly I was in the clinic and responding to suicides, responding to traumatic events, responding to homicides, responding to domestic violence issues, responding to, things like, base-wide exercises and preparations. And so I was really busy with mental health there, but it was all focused on mental health, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was different seeing that side of the Air Force from that perspective. But I also came with value because the clinic leadership, the mental health leadership, when they realized that, I had all this experience from the tip of the spear. And when you got the experience from the tip of the spear, you also have all the other experience under it. So that's a huge thing. And so they found a lot of value in me in the fact that when folks come over to the clinic from the field, so to say, anywhere outside of medical or mental health, then I would probably have an idea of the type of environment they're coming from or the type of stressors they're dealing with. So after Yokota, I ended up after Abilene, I ended up going to Japan actually, this time Yokota Air Base to do mental health. And that was interesting because of the limited resources overseas, but great time over there. I met a lot of great people over there. KD, you know who you are, you know what I'm saying? My man Harvin, always. A lot of other folks, man, if I don't name you, that does not mean that I don't love you. It's been a long time. It just means I got a lot of people to love, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that I do love. So Yokota was great, but it also tested me because there was a time in the Air Force when, the things in Iraq were going off pretty bad, man. Iraq was jumping out pretty strong, and so you had troops that were getting injured, and the military healthcare system not prepared for it. And what I mean by that, you had things like IEDs, these improvised explosive devices and little things that the Iraqis would use to get at the Americans and blow them up. But then came this big focus on PTSD and traumatic brain injuries because guys were getting hit upside the head either with material or with what's called blast wave. Blast wave is just when it blows up, the actual wave comes across your head and it changes something within your brain wave pattern, because there's a lot of electrical activity going on up there. And so as you can imagine with a blast wave coming across, man, it does something to the brain. You get fog, memory fog, headaches, you name it, man. So had to deal with a lot of that stuff. And so I was on the tip of the spear as far as when the Air Force really first began to study a lot of this stuff. So they sent me to a lot of classes, man. I went to courses held by NFL doctors, man. I remember there were conferences where there was NFL doctors there, and they were talking about how the NFL players were having these injuries, from being hit in the head and things like that, man. And so one of the things I realized, that we all realized, that a lot of the sports injuries that were happening on the field were some of the same type of injuries that we were seeing on the battlefields. And so we were using some of the treatment methodology from the professional doctors, using, NFL doctors for in-house or for use in our clinical settings. And so it was quite interesting to go through that. I never forget an interesting story I heard at one of the conferences from, I want to think of his name. A guy he was Air Force. He used to fly 810s. He was Chad Hennings. Chad Hennings used to be a Dallas Cowboy. He used to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys. I think Chad Hennings was a man back then, but he was also, he was a great Air Force pilot. He was an A-10 pilot. I remember there was a big discussion on him even going to the Air Force because the Cowboys wanted him, but the Air Force owned him. And so there was some things behind the scenes that had to take place. So at this conference, I never forget, Chad Hennings was up talking, man. And he was talking about an experience he had with a concussion, you know. And that was a lot of focus of the conference too, not just PTSD, but concussions, particularly sports concussions, football concussions. Because these guys, man, on the field, man, those hits are like, man, the impact is like a car wreck sometimes, man, the impact of a car wreck. So Chad Hennings talking about one time when he was on the field, and I can't remember the team they were playing, but he said he was on down there in the end zone down there, and someone hit him. He said someone hit him, and it knocked him on his ass, right? He said he got up. Chad Hennings said he got up. He said he jogged on over to the sideline. He said he sat there for a while, sat at the sideline, before somebody came and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, man, you're on the wrong sideline." Like he was that messed up, he did not know where he was. He was on the opposing team's sideline. And then, you know, when that happened, they immediately took Chad, obviously, in the back to check him out because he had a horrendous concussion, man. And so it just made me understand just how that thing can do some weird things to your brain. He literally had jogged over to the opposing team's sideline before they tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, man, you're on the wrong side." And I think the damn next play may have started too, because I think they were changing sides, man. I think it was going from defense to offense, something or whatever. But yeah, they took him to have him. They ran through the whole protocols on him, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Dakota Air Base. That was like I said, it was an interesting place. Got a lot of interesting experiences and education under my belt from Dakota. But Dakota was the last stop for me. That's when I ended up putting in for retirement. I had did everything I could to prepare for retirement, the education, the experiences, listen to those above me, listen to those in positions of authority over me. You know, I just tried to be an obedient child, and so I thought it was time for me to get out in the world on my own. It was the worst times of my life to make the decision to retire from the military, because after 22 years, that's all you know. But it was time. So I ended up retiring from Dakota Air Base, and I've relocated since to Austin, Texas. And now here I am. Many years later, after the Air Force, I did 8 years as a state exec, and then I think 1 or 2 years with some other work with another agency. And so all told, I was a state exec probably about 9 years, I think. And that's how it ended, as a state director of a major veterans program. And after that, I ended up being called up or asked if I would accept a nomination and position on a Department of Veterans Affairs Federal Advisory Committee. And so, you know, that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. But because of the way I left my job at the state agency, they picked me up, you know, without hesitation, asked me if I would come on board with them. So I did that for a year. These days, I just kind of I'm sitting back just doing a self-inventory, no longer working, just doing a self-inventory really, and kind of, I never really had the time to transition from military service, I'll be honest with you, back in 2009. You know, when I got out of the military, man, the first thing I had to do was hit it and find a job, you know what I'm saying? So within the first 6 months, that's what I was doing, getting situated and finding out, okay, where we're gonna live, yada, yada, yada. Then after the 6-month period, I got a job. And then from then, I just ran up until the time that I actually resigned in protest over some crap at a state agency back in 2022. And I will definitely get into that at some point, because it's a story you got to hear. But yeah, I resigned in protest from a state agency over just horrible, despicable things they were doing and saying about veterans. And so, yeah, so these days I'm taking a self-inventory. These days I want to just share my experiences with the folks in MOBO-Media. These days I want to uplift. These days I want to educate. These days I want to motivate. These days I would like for you to come on this journey with me, because MOBO-Media is going places. Hey, with that, this is Eric Brown. I just try to give a quick rundown kind of who I am and kind of my journey. Certainly there are a lot of there are a lot of gaps to be filled along the way. It wasn't just crispy clean like that, but along the way I will definitely share some very intimate, private details of my experience. I don't mind at all. I'm very transparent. Have nothing to hide. Have lived a good life, continue to live a good life, and will continue to motivate others to also live good lives. Hey, with that, this is Eric Brown, MOBO-Media. Hey, y'all, please subscribe. Please subscribe to MOBO-Media. Please subscribe, like, comment, share. I'll be putting out more videos like this one. I'm just talking. One thing I don't do the scripted thing. You will never see a piece of paper of me in front of me and I'm talking off of it. No, this is all coming from the heart and coming from, my mental. With that, y'all take care. This is Eric Brown, MOBO-Media. I'm out. Bye-bye.